The National Universities Commission did put up this statement, ministerial directive on the closure of all universities and inter-university centers during the upcoming 2023 general elections. Well, this notice did say vice chancellors, as well as directors, chief executives of inter-university centers are, by this circular, requested to shut down their respective institutions from Wednesday, 22nd February 2023 to Tuesday, 14th March 2023, as signed by Chris Miyaki, Deputy Executive Secretary, Admin for the Executive Secretary of the NUC. So that is the message, the notification that came through yesterday. So there had been several conversations as to whether or not the students will be allowed to go ahead and vote. So now there you have it. So at the moment, they will be able to go ahead and vote. So that matter and some other matters. As a matter of fact, if you look at voter distribution by categories, you get to see, yes, we do have 93.4 million odd registered number of voters, of which 52.5% of them are male, 47.5% of them are female. But you then get to zoom in and you see about 27% odd of, you see, young people, students, and then you'll also see youths of 18 to 34 who are also on that board. So this closure will have its implications and impact on the elections, assuming all of these people were, or a large chunk of this demography of people were to go ahead and participate. So we'll be discussing that and more on this segment with Ahmed Adamu. Dr. Ahmed Adamu is the SA Youth and Strategy for Atiku Abubakar. He's a university lecturer. He's also in that academia, also a member of, he holds a position within the People's Democratic Party. Good morning, Dr. Ahmed. Thank you for joining us on the program today.
Good morning, Chamberlain. Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's get to it. First of all, what was, having gotten that announcement, lecturers, are you going to be, well, you're in politics, so you will not be able to do anything whatsoever in that regard. But a lot is expected of lecturers this time around. They're supposed to be forthright because there have been several, in some cases, 1 or 2 lecturers have been found wanting. I think that case is still going on in Akwa Ibom State. So what is it thinking now in terms of the kind of responsibility that the lecturers have got to carry out with these elections?
Sorry, can you say that again? I didn't hear the question again.
But can you hear me now?
Okay, I can hear you now. Yes.
Yeah, so in terms of the weight of responsibility, what kind of narrative, what kind of conversation is going on within where you are at the moment, in that circle?
Well, it's a welcome development that the universities are going to be closed. The students, the lecturers, the staff will also have the time to participate in the election process. Because when you mentioned that up to 30% of the voters are our students in the universities, so we want that number to participate in the election because we want a larger voter turnout. Because this election, we want more people to participate because when people have interest in the election, tendency is that we're going to have much more interest on the governance because we want to improve the governance. And then when more people are participating, there's going to be more supervision and more interest, and that will enhance the good governance. And for the lecturers, they will also be participating as election officials on behalf of the INEC. So I think it's the best thing that the Nigerian government has taken to close the university. And above that, when you look at the situation in the country, the security concern, because of so many uncertainties. So it's the best thing for the safety of the universities for them to be closed at this hour, apart from their constitutional right, opportunity.
Okay.
It's for their safety too, because a lot of people are emotionally and economically choked off. So anything can happen. So a lot of uncertainty.
Before this announcement, I mean, we've seen several campaigns, and politicians, they usually, the retinue of sprinkling of student population, student leadership in different parts of the country who tend to support candidates on election day. You see them on the podium and things like that. Before this announcement came through, were the campuses buzzing? Were they looking forward to these elections? What was the atmosphere?
Well, from our perspective, we've been visiting some of the universities, and a lot of young people of support of a change, because what we discovered was that a lot of young people in these universities, they are beginning to have independent mindset. There are people who may likely to have an informed decision because the ethnic and religious bigotry has not yet gotten into them. So there are people who want to listen to the candidates to find out about what plans do you have. These are people, even in their student union elections, you see them holding their leaders accountable, want to listen to them. So I think that's why I want to have more young people like that, kind of segment, to be participating in the election, because that's going to filter out the uninformed voting. Because most of the problems we face in terms of good governance is not actually from the leaders, it's from the voters, because we don't have bad leaders, we only have uninformed voters. Because any person that you see, you think is a good governor or not performing leader, he was voted by certain people. And people could have seen the incompetency of these people before the election. So when we have more young people who are not yet financially induced, who are beginning to have their independent mindset, I think they're going to be a better choice. And this is most important election for the young people, because whatever we are doing in this election is for the future. And who is going to live to see the future? So the future of these young people are at stake. And this is one of the most important elections for the whole country, because we are at a point where things have never been this worse. Things have never been this uncertain, economically, educationally, socially, especially when we talk about security. The Nigerians have changed a government, a sitting government, hoping for security, hoping for economic prosperity. They have not seen it. So it's not something new for Nigerians now to start thinking of doing something revolutionary. And this election, that's why I say it's one of the most important.
But Dr. Ahmed,
elections.
if I could just jump in. So I know you heard about this narrative that young people may not or will not necessarily vote for the APC or the PDP because they've seen these parties before. They know what to expect. They want to try something new. You are SAU to Atiku Abubakar. How are you relating with him, especially when this kind of narrative is out there?
Well, one of the things that's very beautiful about young people is that they have this kind of analytical mind to think through, and not just to think of a party alone, but looking at the candidates themselves. But even if you're looking at the party, young people are aware of the hardships, if not themselves, but their parents are undergoing because of the failure of this administration. People have rejected the APC, and it has reached to the extent where people cannot walk freely showing any kind of identity of the APC, either because they are ashamed, or either because they are afraid that people can bend their anger on them because of what's going on. And young people are aware of the capacities of these candidates. They know that the APC candidate has so many incapacitations from so many embarrassing performances in his campaigns. So they are seeing this, they are mocking him, they are making some jokes and comedy out of that. So these are young people that are aware, conscious of the candidate. They are not that kind of politicized to even worry about the party, but looking at the candidate individually. And then this money swap has also exposed the plot of the APC to use money to buy off voters. And now people are saying, oh, hey, you guys, you want to use money to buy us? Okay, so now, let's see if you can do that. And another thing is, because of so much friction and division in the APC, they will not have the chance, because the Tinubu camp is fighting the Buhari camp, and then again and again and again. So there is so much friction. And then when you take a look at the PDP candidate, Atiku Abubakar, he is somebody that represents Nigeria, not north, not south, not any zone. he is someone who is not coming from any religion or any ethnicity. He's a Nigerian candidate, and young people want that kind of neutral person because those young people, they don't know the kind of division and things like that. And he is also, Atiku Abubakar is also physically fit. He's somebody that will go into the stage and will dance and then hug with the young people. And that this is the kind of connection that the young people are having with the PDP candidate because he is mentally sound too.
That wasn't quite the question that my colleague asked you. I mean, he was talking about the fact, or at least the seeming fact, that a lot of young people seem disenchanted with the political class and they want a breath of fresh air. They want something new. As it were. They've tried the PDP, they've heard of the 16 years of the PDP, and it's anyone who's old enough to vote would have experienced some years of the PDP and now 7 years of the APC. And perhaps they've seen that perhaps, both parties haven't quite taken them to the promised land. And so for you to say that your candidate will be the candidate that young people will be looking forward to, a lot of them might disagree with you. How are you getting your message across to that demographic which seems to be driving, or which seems to be the force behind the third force and the fourth force, as the case might be?
Yeah, I like what you said, because young people want something new. They want to change things. They want to see what happens if this happens. And they also want to participate in the election. They want to also be the leaders. And that's exactly where I was taking you before you asked this question. Because when you look at, like I said, young people, they are not looking at APC or PDP because some of them may have not seen the period of the previous PDP. Even if they have seen it, it was during that PDP that the Nigerian economy was at its best so far since the beginning of democracy in recent times. So when you look at also participation of young people in leadership, when you look at PDP, there is no any party that has empowered and provide opportunities for young people as in the PDP. And when you look at the candidate, Atiku Abubakar, who is a youth-friendly president to be, and he also promised that he will give these young people and the women 60% of all his government appointment. So, hey, you guys, you have 60% stake. What are you waiting for? Come and grab it. No one has promised.
60% stake will benefit people like yourself, not the millions of young people who will eventually vote for him.
All right. Okay. If it benefits people like me, am I not a young person? Am I not entitled? Am I not competent? If the president deem it that I'm also competent, why not? Because when you give people like me, like you said, any kind of opportunity, I have so many young friends around me. So empowering me is empowering my colleagues, giving them opportunity. So it's not necessarily any particular young person. We're looking at it not like a personality or calling name, but young people are young people. But one thing that we guarantee Nigeria is that Atiku Abubakar will not appoint any young person who is not competent, because he's actually somebody who loves talent, intelligence, and what you make it. And he doesn't have to know you.
The point I'm making, Mr. Damo, is the fact that appointive positions are only so many. If that is what we're looking at as the route to empowerment, that is only going to affect so many people. I mean, there are millions, and we're taking a look at the voting population now. It's very unclear how it's going to be split. But if we're looking at the youth population, which is almost about 40% of the voting population, the question is, what precisely will he be bringing on board, apart from appointments, that will bring out the entrepreneurship, which will bring out the, I'm looking for the right word now, which will harness the talent that young people, the myriad of talents that young people have exhibited over different spheres of our, of our national life, be it in music, be it in the arts, be it in technology, that's the IT sector, that will actually move or lift this country forward. I think that's what a lot of young people will be looking more to, rather than appointive positions.
Yeah, because there are so many aspects of participation. One is the direct government or leadership training by appointing young people. The other aspect of it, where a large chunk of young people will also be included, is development, youth development, because Atiku Abubakar promised to spend up to 8 trillion naira in 8 years. 8 trillion, which is equivalent to $10 billion. No presidential candidate had made this promise. And he is somebody who keeps to his words. So $10 billion US will be kept to empower young people. Young people, you don't have to go to university for
Empower
you to...
them in what respect? Empower them by giving them cash handouts, or what precisely?
That's where I'm taking you, because not everyone has to go to the university to get a degree. Some young people will stop either at the secondary school or at diploma or any tertiary certificate. So what kind of empowerment do you want to give them in terms of skills, and especially modern skills, so that we can make young people produce, be the drivers of our manufacturing sector, industrial sector, and agricultural sector, modern agriculture for export purposes. And that is why we need that kind of investment, first in infrastructure, and then in direct investment based on the needs and the requirement of the young people. And how are you going to get the money? Atiku Abubakar is one of the best economists in Nigeria, because during his time as the leader of the Nigerian economy, he led the country to its best economic performing state. And he is very strategic in raising funds for that. And I really trust that he will support young people. So young people, you don't want to lose this $10 billion for you, which is earmarked only for the young people. No presidential candidate any president has ever done that. And we've seen young people expressing their interest and support for Atiku Abubakar. We've seen demonstration. Even today in Katsina, we are doing a big rally to support young people are coming out freely to demonstrate, to show that we support Atiku Abubakar, and nobody can touch that. Our interest, our voice must be heard. So a lot of young people are expressing that. So I'm not just saying it, it's a backdrop. It's a backdrop with statistics and data. And then we did a survey recently, and then we discovered that especially in northern part of Nigeria, where we have more than 50% of the registered voters. And any person that wins in the north wins the election automatically, because that's where the larger chunk of the votes are. And then mostly are the young people from this region. And then we discovered that Atiku Abubakar is 70% preferred, even though he was affected by the candidacy of people like Peter Obi and Kwankwaso from the region. But that has not stopped him from being the most preferred candidate. So these are things that are just waiting for the election to come, and Atiku Abubakar will be declared the winner by God's grace.
It'll be interesting to see what eventually happens on the 25th of February. But I am wondering, you are in the university system, and if there's anywhere where Nigerian young people have been dealt, will I say, or where they've held the short end of the stick, it's been in tertiary education. I mean, many areas of our education system are in a total state of disarray, or a state that has left a lot to be desired, especially government education system. A lot of people now resort to the private sector, but majority of young people still attend public institutions, and it's such a disgrace to see where it is that our public institutions are. Is it in terms of primary education? We know that primary education is basically the responsibility of local governments and state governments. Secondary education, both the states and the federal government also has a hand in it with what it does with the federal government colleges. But then tertiary education, which is also within the purview of the federal government and the state government, we've not exactly seen a lot of progress in those areas. Is anything, there's been so many years of strikes, particularly in the tertiary education sector. What precisely is the government, assuming he were to be elected come the 25th, what is he hoping to do differently to put a permanent end to strikes? Because we must admit that even during the PDP years, the 16 years of PDP, these strikes were also prevalent.
Well, that's a very interesting question, because when you look at the antecedent of Atiku Abubakar, he's a product of education. And he knows that for any kind of person to come up again to be anything, to produce many of Atikus, that could only happen through education. And that's why he invested in all stages of education, from kindergarten to nursery, all through. And he gives scholarship because he knows the value of education. And somebody who has already invested, he has a lot of money to invest in many places, but he decided to invest in education because he knows the value of education. And that alone, you'll be rest assured that he's going to give. But let me go specific. at a time, and to answer this one, I have to take it through two layers. At a time of high tension and emotions, and a lot of people thinking about whether they want to belong to this country, and then at the time when we have these educational challenges, one of the unique policy of Atiku Abubakar is the issue of restructuring. Let me take it from these two perspectives. Atiku Abubakar wants to empower the states to have more resources, to have more power, to have more control, so that they can also participate and heavily invest in the educational sector. Because when you have so much power and resources centered in the central government, that's going to be a room for mismanagement, inefficiencies, corruptions, and so many bureaucracies. And then the power and resources are very far away from the people. So before the money comes down to the people, it's going to take a long time. So let's allow the state to control resources, to have more money to invest in education, because we need 12 trillion naira investment in the next 10 years in education for us to have that kind of enabling educational environment. So Atiku Abubakar will embark on the restructuring. That will also create competition and harnessing of so many potential resources that are not being harnessed. And that will also lead to the investment, because there is no two ways about it. Education is about money, it's about investment. And even you're talking about the quality of the teachers, you talk about the infrastructure, about access, it's a lot of money. And then how do you get the money? Why we have so many abundant resources? Let me give you an example. In Katsina State, we are worth 4 trillion worth of resources, but we are only collecting and waiting for the fact distribution of 4 billion every month. And then once we pay salary, we have nothing left. While we have abundance of all natural resources, solid minerals that we can tap and export and get more money and build more educational institutions, we cannot do that. But Atiku Abubakar will allow states like Katsina to do that. And another thing is, a lot of Nigerians are aggrieved and frustrated. They think they're not getting their fair share of the national resources, and they feel aggrieved. And that's why a lot of people are even concerned about who is the president, where the president comes from, which religion is the president is practicing. Hey, people wouldn't worry about those minor things if they have so much powers and control close to them. They decide, they become responsible for their outcomes. And the state governors will not point fingers of blame to the central government because they are in power.
Let me jump in and ask you, how did you come to that conclusion that Atiku Abubakar is the preferred candidate in the northern part of the country, because you said more preferred to the other candidates?
We conducted a survey. Actually, it was a national survey. But we discovered that we need to focus more on a particular region, and as an interesting region is the northern Nigeria, because that's where we have larger proportion of the votes. And then we conducted a survey. We asked people about which region they come from and who is their first preferred candidate. And then we asked them another question: who is their second most preferred candidate? So the idea is, we want to know if people that are supporting Atiku, if Atiku would not have been in the ballot, who will they have voted for? If Tinubu is not on the ballot and people from the north, who will they have voted for? And we discovered that a lot of people, some people who, for example, are supporting Peter Obi from the north, especially some of them from the north central, they will have voted for Atiku Abubakar, even not because of Peter Obi. So, but Peter Obi has taken some portion of the Atiku's potential voters from the north central, but Atiku Abubakar has not taken from Peter Obi. So Atiku's candidacy has been affected by two major candidates, but was not like Kwankwaso and Obi, but he was not affected by Tinubu because most of Tinubu supporters didn't vote for Atiku as their second choices. But a lot of people that we are, majority of more than 50% of people that we are intending to vote for Kwankwaso, they said they will have gone for Atiku as their second choice. People that we are voting for Obi as their first choice, majority of them say, oh, if not because of Obi, I would have gone for Atiku Abubakar. So despite this affection, this impact of these two candidates that are affecting Atiku Abubakar got 70% most preferred candidate. And then he is first, and then followed by Peter Obi from the north, and then followed by Tinubu second, followed by Peter Kwankwaso, and then Peter Obi. Okay, sorry, let me repeat it. Let me repeat the order. first Atiku Abubakar, followed by Kwankwaso, then Peter Obi, and then Tinubu. This is the order. So we discovered that, yes, so if Atiku could get this 70% from the 54% of the voters' population, then he can win the election, because once he gets the larger proportion from the...
Pardon me, was this in the urban area or rural areas?
Yeah.
Or where?
Yeah. What we did was we posted it on some of my platform first, and then I asked some of the newspapers to post it so that we can have the kind of diversity, and it's going to be outside our cycles to filter this interest. And I'm going to share the video with you. I posted it on my social media platforms. Anyone that's interested can watch the video that reported about this survey.
Any idea of the sample size and demography of those who participated?
Yeah. The idea is to get a sample and to get an idea of the thinking or preference of the regional or zonal interest. And then we had over 52,000 people participating, but that gives you a signal, an idea of where this could happen. So it's like a possibility, because we have a sample of them and we collected those information anonymously.
All right. So at the moment, well, clearly, I mean, I haven't seen or heard any politician who says his candidate will not win. But then it will be a thing for everybody to see. But just to put this out there, is your party, or as you, since you're SC Youth and Strategy, do you in any way also think about post-election? Or what do you think about when you think about that?
Yeah, when you ask me about post-election, is the victory I think of, and then transition, because Atiku Abubakar is somebody who is already collecting names of his potential ministers and his cabinet, because he has a plan. And in forming that plan, a lot of people involved. Though these 5-point agendas, that's the way his own initial thought. This is his own personal idea.
All right.
How he wants to fix this.
We're winding down now. I'm just wondering, I mean, is there any consideration whatsoever? Because, I mean, strategy, you will always look at both sides. If you win, if you lose. So what kind of narrative goes on so that people don't hit the streets and think that they were robbed?
Yeah, even if we have to lose in this election, it has to be through a free and fair process, because Atiku Abubakar is somebody that respects the rule of law. But we will not tolerate any kind of rigging, manipulation, or distortions. And that's why Nigerians need to open their eyes. They should not allow any kind of plot for rigging. And this election, it can only be peaceful if it is fair. So what I anticipate is fairness from the INEC and the security as well, and all people involved. So what I think is like Atiku Abubakar is not the first time he's losing an election, but he must lose if he has to through a fair process.
Okay, so speaking about fairness,
now we win the election.
Are you satisfied with the preparations by INEC at the moment?
Yeah, for the preparation, we are okay, but we still have a lot of some unrest about a lot of uncertainties, especially that is being caused by the money swap policy. Because when you go outside now, you see a lot of people who are stranded, frustrated, and a lot of people are really choked up, angered, and any kind of slight provocation, we cannot guarantee what's going to happen in this country. So, but because especially this money swap affected small businesses, people that hawk around who receive 5 naira, 10 naira, and then 200 naira. The money scarcity is affecting not only them, but even the big businesses, the service industry, because people are now only looking for money for the major basic needs, survival. Other service industries are really struggling at this moment.
What do you make of those who say that all of this is orchestrated such that they'll be frustrated with the ruling party, and then your party, will benefit from it?
Yes, because this is a fight between within the APC. Because so a function of the APC think if we can starve somebody, a candidate, that candidate who is banking on using on the money to buy vote, who we don't like, will not make it. And this person realizes that this money swap and this money scarcity is affecting him, and he's also fighting back. So it's a way of like we're watching them, but we are not banking on using money. We are banking on our capacity, our plans, and our track records. And we are not planning to use money to buy people because people are already tired. People are willing to vote for Atiku Abubakar free of charge. People are bringing their money to vote for him because they are feeling in their stomach. They are feeling it in their head, frustration. You know, a lot of people are tired. They just want to change this administration.
Is it true that he says he will do just one term if he wins?
You know, this is a decision, it's a personal decision of Atiku Abubakar. I'm not in a position to tell you what Atiku Abubakar think about, but it's a question that I'm sure you must have asked him before.
So if you were to advise him, what would you say? You're an essay.
Yeah, consistency in good policies is good, because when you set a policy, it was very good, and then there's a break.
Okay, go ahead.
And then there's a break. We are going to go back. So I'm a proponent of a prolonged leadership, but that leadership must be good leadership. And I also question the 8 years tenure, because it's really short for any progressive transformation. Because if we have a very good policy and then 4 years in between there is election, destruction, you know, people are uncertain, and then if, you know, after 8 years, it's not enough. But if Atiku Abubakar with his plans, I think 4 years is not enough for him. I think Atiku Abubakar needs more time in leadership to implement his 5-point agenda, especially uniting the country.
Are you saying that even with 8 years, assuming that he were to run and, you know, even get another 4-year tenure, assuming he won this one, are you saying that 8 years still will not be enough for any leader to be able to have an impact?
Yeah, Atiku Abubakar, because he's a planner. He's somebody who is just coming to hit the ground running. He will make an impact, in fact, in even the first 2 years of his administration. But what I'm saying is consistency and prolonged benefit of these policies need consistency post the 8-year tenure, because I'm sure Atiku Abubakar will also like to groom other leaders who will be part of his administration to continue with that plan. Because as a good leader, you have to plan for succession, because you don't want to fail. You don't want things to stop the moment you leave, because we know your success by the succession that you left behind. So this is what this administration has not done. They have not planned for any succession. So that we have to get the right person, which is Atiku Abubakar, and who will do the better things now.
All right, then, Dr. Ahmed Adamu, SA Youth and Strategy to Atiku Abubakar. You are also one of the officials of the PDP in terms of election management in the Northwest for the Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you for your time today and all the best.